Good evening, not afternoon. Holy banana bread. Good evening. Welcome to Saturday Night Hangout or a financial Blogmas part 14. Oh boy, we're really getting along. I think there's only 10 more left after this. So this is absolutely fantastic. This is gonna be, well, it's a weekend. As I mentioned, we're gonna try to have fun on the weekends. So here we're gonna be loosey goosey. We're gonna chat. We're gonna do all of that fun stuff, and we're gonna just talk a little bit about my whole process because one of the things with the Blogmas is we should actually be kind of talking about the day and the things that I do outside of the normal. So I thought it would be fun to talk a little bit about how videos get made, where ideas come from, all of that fun stuff, and at the same time, we're of course going to answer all your questions. We're going to chat back and forth. We're going to have a good old time. We're going to have a good old time. And Jonathan was first in the house with a "Am I late?" I don't want to miss this. I don't want you to miss this either. So no, you're not late. You're exactly on time. 9 is in with some praying. Oh, we got the one and only Jordan in here with a Heidi there. Heidi there, Candace. Hope you're well. Absolutely, absolutely. Friggin is in the house with an Ola. Behind the scenes. Jonathan says, studio is looking so clean. Well, let me show you why. Let me show you why. Take a gander at that. That was a big light there. I'm not going to make you look at it for too long. I added a more powerful light. I brought it up from the studio from downstairs. And, okay, Jill brought it up from the studio from downstairs, but it has brightened things up quite a bit. So that's always a goodness. That's always goodness as well. All right, guys. Like I said, this is kind of reminiscent. I will tell you when I first began streaming. This was back in what was it, 2021? I started with this little show called Saturday Night Live Stream. So it was basically me and a guest, and we talked. We talked about this, that, and the other thing. Give me a second here. I'm going to see if I can find out the exact date. I can tell you this. In our very first show, I was like, well, where do we begin? I was like, let's begin at the beginning. So we actually talked about emergency funds in that very first show. And actually, the very first show, I had not yet brought a guest on. It was just me. It was just me. Let's see here. Here we go. So I'm just pulling it up here. I've got it. I got it. So yeah, we did. It was called Emergency Fund Revisited. And we also talked about Bitcoin, dividends, and you. Holy banana bread. What a title. But yeah, that was quite a while ago. Why doesn't it actually give me the date on this? Oh, well, I will. You know what? I know how I can get the date. Give me a second here. There we go. There we go. So it was, yeah, November 6th, 2021. That was the first one. And we have not looked back. We have not looked back since then. And interestingly enough, the following week, we did another one, and I had my first ever guest. And my first ever guest is actually here right now in the chat. It was Freakin'. Freakin' was my first ever guest. And we had a good old chat. We had, and Freakin' was on for quite a few shows back in the early days before we decided to leave Saturday Night Live stream. Got to make sure I put that stream in there. And then we moved, of course, to the This Week format. And we never looked back from that. That has certainly grown, and that's been fantastic. But every so often, I think about them old Saturday Night Live streams. I I definitely thought they were a lot of fun for sure. So yeah, that is where everything all began. Anchor is saying good evening, and Freakin is saying, yeah, we had a blast that show. We had a lot of blasts. It was actually funny. Me and Friggin on the screen together. People used to compare us to like to some of those detective shows, like because we had that type of chemistry. So yeah, those were always a lot of fun. So that's where the channel began, obviously, and then well, now we're at next Friday night. So basically, in 6 days, we're doing that 5,000 sub celebration show. And oh boy, it's going to be fun because I get to ask you guys questions. That's what I'm loving because we're doing a contest and I'm going to ask a whole bunch of questions and we're going to track who are getting them right. And whoever gets the most right by the end of the show is going to win an hour with me. We're going to, we'll look at your portfolio. We'll answer your questions. If you want me to go over something, we'll do that. Or heck, if you don't want any of that and you're just like, I just want to chill and talk for an hour. Yeah, we got that too. So it's going to be fantastic. I cannot wait for that stream next week. Oh boy, that's going to be good. All right. That's a little bit on the history of the show, but let's kind of talk a tiny bit about how I pull things together. So ideas, that's where everything always begins. How do you get an idea? Well, there's two different types of videos. So for the most part, my standards are my list videos and my deep dives. And you guys by now know my deep dives. You guys are requesting them left, right, and center. Those ones are just absolutely easy to come up with because I get you guys to vote. Speaking of that, there's actually a live vote going on. Well, not on the stream, but on the community tab, we got a vote coming for next week's deep dive. So you want to do that. You want to get that vote in, and we'll see who's going to win. Will Brookfield Corporation finally move from bridesmaid to bride? We'll have to see. It's all up to you guys. Last time I looked, quite literally, we only have 4 companies up. We used to do 5, but then YouTube changed it and only gives us 4 options now. So, but last time I looked, it was 25%, 25%, 25%, and 25%. So I was just like, oh boy, this is going to be a good one. So we got the votes going. Definitely get over there, throw in your 2 cents. But now with the list videos, those sometimes come a little bit more difficult when I'm trying to think of which ones to do. Like, do I want to do a high dividend one? Do I want to do a total return one? A couple of factors will go into my decision. One is I take a look at what lists I've done in the last usually 3 months or so, because I try not to repeat. I'll repeat, I do repeat, absolutely, but not within like 3 months. So I will look at that. Then I will usually go in, and sometimes I'll go into, for example, I'll go into my screener and I'll be like, okay, what kind of thing can I do in here? Do I want to restrict it? Do I only want to look at energy stocks this time around? Or do I want to look at maybe I want to look at, well, not really, I wouldn't say bank stocks, but I'll just I might pick a sector. I will say that I have, and this is something I've learned through the course of the channel, that some individual sectors don't do very well if I just do it that way. So I kind of learn as I've been going along, because I do have everything all charted out. Like I can quite literally tell you almost anything statistically wise about the channel because I analyze it a lot because that helps me decide where I'm going to go next. Now, the other thing is we have list videos, but the other thing too is we have the FIQ videos. We kind of at one point I was going to really go sort of double down on the FIQ, but they don't do as well. What's nice about the FIQ is that I'll drop an FIQ. So those are your financial IQ videos. So those are more of your tutorials. I will drop one, and normally they will normally they won't do so well initially, but they do pick up. They sort of get a steady amount of people who are coming in to look at them because they tend to be evergreen content. So for that, I'm like, all right, that's cool. So we'll definitely pull in some of those FIQs. Oh, Anchor is saying, will you have a link for last night's show available for replay? What was yesterday? Yesterday was Friday. Yeah, we that should be available already, but I'm not sure why. Maybe, maybe. Just give me a second here. Let me grab it. I'll grab it for you. But it should have been available for you. All right, just give me two shakes of a lamb's a tail here. Yeah, so yesterday we talked about U.S. growth stocks. Here we go. I just got a shareable link for you. I'll just drop that down into the comments. Let's see. I'd like to check out the Canadian dividend stocks you went over. Oh, well, that wasn't last night. Yes, that was a couple of nights. Actually, that that one's doing really, really well. Give me a second here. I'll grab a link for that one for you too. There you go. There you go. There's the links for both of those shows. Yeah, no, actually, the interesting thing is, so that financial Blogmas, that live we did on the top 11 monthly dividend ETFs, has actually become the most viewed live stream on the channel. So that's actually kind of fantastic. I was like, oh, okay, sure, why not? I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. So it's just one of those fun things. But the live streams, they have been getting like bigger. If I look at some of the older live streams, so and I can actually pull up some data. I can actually pull up data here for you. Yeah, so like back in the old days, like in that first, let's just go the first month. The average amount of viewers, like at my peak. So peak is basically meaning the most viewers who are on at any one time. Yeah, you'd usually be maybe 15, 16, starting to push a little bit up towards 20s. Nowadays, most of our, depending on what the show is, like this week, we'll use that as our big example. We're usually anywhere from 50 to 60. So that's not too shabby at all. So yeah, the views overall on the live streams have been exploding, but keep in mind, we've gone through some format changes. And then, of course, once I went solo, I had to sort of move from being used to talking to someone to being the center of the experience. And that meant my presentation style needed to come up a notch, needed to hone those skills, get much, 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 much better at what I'm doing. And that skill has come along. Absolutely. Like now I'm pretty darn comfortable. And well, I guess I do a lot of live streams. So if I'm not comfortable at this point, I never would be. That's for sure. Paul is in the house. Hello there, Paul. Hello. MicroStrategy got into the NASDAQ 100 deck. Holy banana bread. That's good news. That's very good news for MicroStrategy. I know we were looking to see if they could get into the NASDAQ. Now that they are, that will create more buying pressure on them because all of those ETFs that are QQ, so your QQ ETFs, like, things like QQQY, as an example, they are going to need to add a position of MicroStrategy. So when they come to they won't do it immediately, but when they come to their next rebalance, because some of them rebalance quarterly, some of them semi-annually, but as they rebalance, they will start adding in MicroStrategy unless, you could have a situation where maybe the management team sort of says, you know what, let's just get some right away because of what they've been doing. That'll be good for our ETF. So that could very well happen for sure. And Missy is in the house. Well, hello, Candace. Hello, Missy. Good to see you. Good to see you. Absolutely. All right. So we're talking a little bit about the process. So once we have the process, then Then comes the the fun part. Sorry, the process. Sorry. Once we have the topic, well, the next part, of course, becomes scripting. I need to script it out, figure it all out, and to do that, to do that, what I do is I've got a bunch of templates that I use. So it has a couple of the anchor things like, this is going to be a good one. That type of thing. And the ending, of course, that's all in there. So I will then go through, I'll begin scripting it out, playing back and forth. When I'm doing the list data, I'm also pulling all of the data because I have to pull that in. Some days I'll do all the data first, and then I'll do the actual text and stuff all around it. Other days I go in completely the opposite direction. It just really depends on how I feel when it comes to the whole process. So I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good with either or. Mario says, good evening. Now, normally the next part, of course, is going to be the filming and the editing. But at the same time, a lot of times, I will sometimes get in there and I'll say, it's time to make a thumbnail. So a lot of times what I will do, you know what? Let's make a thumbnail. Do you guys want to make a thumbnail? Yeah, I kind of do. Let's just make a thumbnail. We'll just we'll create some kind of a fake company or something. Oh yeah. All right. We're going to make a thumbnail for Banana Co. So we're doing a deep dive on Banana Co. So to do that, first place I'm going to do is I'm going to, of course, go to Canva. I don't have it on this screen over here. Whoops. I probably should add this to the thing here. All right, let's go to Canva. All right, there we go. Well, there's Canva. All right, so when I come into Canva, you can see these are thumbnails that I made. Here's the thumbnail for this episode right here. And you can sort of see these are some of the cards I make for like the banks, the 0 to 100K challenge. You can sort of see all of that. Oh, this, by the way, I'll show you guys right here. Why not? This here is a poster for a music show. My mom is a singer, so she does a music show once a month. So I make the poster for her. And this one here is her Christmas show, and all of her proceeds go to Make-A-Wish. So I do that for her as well. So anyway, just because you saw it there and you might be curious, that's just like what the heck? Oh, and there's Trump. There's our Trump beaver. All right, but what I will normally do is sometimes I'll think, okay, I might say I want to make one similar to this. So I can just come in, I'll just do a duplication on it. We'll make a copy. We'll bring it up. All right. So we want to, all right. Well, I don't need the BTS and I don't need the bar on the side. I'll keep the text. I might be able to use it. Now, if we were making one, all right. So let's say we're making one for Banana Co. Maybe what I want to do here is let's see if we're going to see if we can do an edit here. Let's do an adjust. Let's see here. Actually, I want to come down here and let's see here if I can get a little bit of all right, I'm going to add a bit more brightness. I want to get some yellow in there, for example. So in this case here, I'm looking at this. I got some yellow. I kind of like, I'm looking at it and I'm like, that kind of sucks. That kind of sucks. So what I might just do is I might just come over to elements and do, let's do a deep yellow gradient. All right, here we go. We got a couple things. Those are videos down there. What do we got here? Now we got a few different things here. We'll use this. We'll say we're going to use this one here. We'll replace the background. Bang. We got ourselves a nice big yellow background. Maybe I'm going to keep this face. That's fine. I'm okay with that. All right. So this here is Banana Co. And I'll look at the key thing in the deep dive. So for example, let's say Banana Co. is they're crashing. They're crashing big time. So I might say, I might do something along the lines here of, let's get rid of the little text. We'll get rid of the little text. All right. So let's see here. All right. Banana Co. There we go. Banana Co. Whoops. How did that happen? There we go. Oh. Oh. Oh, sorry. I was hitting 0. All right. There we go. Banana Co. All right. And let's see here. And I want something kind of catchy. So let's say Tasty Treat. Maybe not so much Tasty Treat, but hey, why not? Why not? We're having fun, right? Let's see. Tasty Treat or slippery peel. I don't know. Like I said, I'm just dropping this out here. All right. Now, I really like things to be blocky. So I might come in here with this Tasty Treat, for example, and I may just increase it to be roughly in line there with that. And obviously slippery peel, I will, let's see here. I'm going to shrink it up a little bit. So we'll come in like that. All right, Tasty Treat or slippery peel, bang, bang. We got Banana Co, Tasty Treat or slippery peel. And I might come in here and let's see here. Oh, I got the Banana Girl. Let's bring the Banana Beaver over. We'll get rid of her background. All right, now I want to have more of her in the actual picture. So I might, in this case, just grab it, shrink things up a little bit, because then I can drag it over, sort of put it in the center, maybe move her a bit over this way, and bang. This is not the best because, guys, I'm spending like quite literally 5 minutes on it. I would spend a lot more time, but that's basically what would happen. Now, in this case here, like this is a really bad thumbnail. You've probably never seen one this bad, but this is kind of just, I just wanted to give you the general idea. Like I would probably, quite literally, I would probably, even if I did drop this the way it is, Jill would probably look at it and yell at me and say, "You're not going to put that out, are you?" So yeah, don't worry. I think it's all good. All right. Holy banana bread. Speaking of a banana bread company, the banana bread company is in here with a dividend. And you know what that means? You know what that means? That means we have ourselves a brand new goat. Awesome. Thank you very much, Banana Bread Company. All right. Now I was getting back to where I was. Paul. No, I think Mario said, "Oh, good evening." I think I said that one. All right. Paul says, for live streaming on YouTube, we'll do it live or or F it. We'll do it live as a quote from Bill O'Reilly Goes Nuts, an outtake from the show Inside Edition that went viral in 2008. Oh, that's hilarious. That is hilarious. Roku says, "Hello all. Candace, I did go back and watch a couple of your early videos, and you've certainly polished your presentation skills." Oh yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing. I will tell you this right now. No matter how much I've polished my skills up to now, I bet you in a year, they're going to be even better. Because yeah, it goes that way. Can you make the Trump Beaver dancing to YMCA? That's an interesting question. And it's not that far out of the out of the question, because I'll tell you, the next video. So Tuesday's video is the yield max video, and on that I'm using the new subscribe graphic. It's the exact same graphic, but I have enhanced it a little bit. So you'll get to see that on that video. Right now, I don't know if I can upload it here or not, but It's a matter of whether or not I can find it. If I can find it, I can certainly upload it. But yeah, it's I'm kind of excited. Oh, here it is. Here it is. I'm opening it up. It has to process it. It has to process it. I'll show you guys here in just a moment because as soon as it's done. All right, here it is. Here it is. All right. So now you can see we got a little bit of sparkles going. That was done with Sora. That was done completely with Sora. I love it. I thought it was very, very cool. Paul says no Banana Co dividend slices this quarter. Yeah. We had to. They had to cut those Banana Co dividends for sure. Anyway, so getting back to the whole, and here's a beautiful thing with YouTube as well. I have the option of doing more than one thumbnail. So sometimes if I want to do something experimental. So if you guys remember with that last canoe video, I had the one that, the one that most of you seen, just, the normal one with, it was still the star background, but it just, said as canoe done type thing. There was also one that had a moon on it, a little spaceship floating there. And, when I was in a spacesuit. So I uploaded them both. It turns out the one without the spacesuit did a little bit better. So then YouTube said, okay, yeah, that one did better. We're going to stick with that one. And they kind of pushed the space suit one away, and nobody ever sees it again type thing. But yeah, it's kind of one of those things. So I have a couple of options that way. I can play around. I can make other ones. I can do up to 3 actually, if I really want to. So sometimes if I want to do something experimental where I'm going to see, I wonder if this thumbnail style is going to work, I'll usually do 2. So some people might see it and some people may see the other one. And then of course, YouTube determines based on clicks and watch time. Watch time actually works big when it comes to that. Okay, so after all of that, we get to the main day. The main day is when I do, basically, I will film and edit usually in the same day. So I like to get in there, do my filming in the morning. Then I immediately go into editing. I'll download it all into Final Cut Pro, start going through it. And there's actually an interesting thing. If you guys remember, I was struggling with this sound thing for a while. And it turns out that the reason I had some sound issues is that YouTube, if your volume is too loud, if you got too much volume, YouTube will basically pull it down. So there's a certain level of decibels it likes you to be at. So if you're above it, YouTube pulls it down, and it does weird things to the sound. So that was happening to me for a while. And the funny thing is, people would say, yeah, it's you need a better mic. You need a better mic. And I'm like, uh-oh, what's going on? So, I would be working to try to enhance the sound. I would be making it louder. And by making it louder, I was actually making the thing worse. At one point, I went and ordered this really highfalutin mic. I mean, this thing was like, oh my God, it was like close to $1,000. It was expensive. And I tried it, and people were like, yeah, that's even worse. I'm like, so I did return it, luckily. But it turns out that, like I said, it was just YouTube and some of their weird settings. Because one of the things, and this is the thing I didn't take into consideration, when people were telling me there was that sound problem, I was doing my edit and I would listen to it after I finished, and it sounded perfect. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with the sound. I don't know where people are getting this from. But it was when I was uploading it to YouTube. YouTube was doing it to me. So I'm like, anyway. And that's a fun thing about editing. Like, if we go back in time on the channel, initially when I first started, I mean, I can't even tell you exactly how many, probably somewhere between 5 and 10. There was no editing. I was doing it back then. For one, I didn't know how to edit. Number 2, what I was doing is I was filming it and all in one take. So, and that was hard because sometimes, I'd be 10 minutes into a video and everything was going great, and then I'd make a mistake. And, like for little mistakes, I would, when you're doing it that way, you kind of let the little ones float. But sometimes you're going along and you're like, let's say you really mess something up, and then you say, oh, F word, maybe. Yeah, you can't really leave that in. So I would have to start right from the beginning. And I also at that point wasn't scripting. I would basically be point forming, and then I would have to remember everything that I had written down point form because I really couldn't use that while I was filming. Then I finally discovered iMovie initially, and then it's like, oh my god, you mean if I make a mistake, I can just edit out the mistake? So I was like, great. I mean, I knew that you could do stuff like that, but I didn't know that it was easy. And I found that out with the iMovie, and that was really, really good. I started basically pulling out little things like that. Then then somebody gave me some bad advice. That bad advice is that, oh, everything on YouTube has to be fast. If you slow down a little bit, people are going to leave. In fact, you probably should increase the speed of your playback. So I started doing that because I was thinking, okay, I'm trying to make it on YouTube. I got to do what the experienced folk are saying. And then I started getting complaints. You're going too fast. You're going too fast. And at that point, I sort of, I started slowing things down. At one point, I think I was playing my videos at about 10%. Then I eventually slowed it down, and now I don't put any speed at all. The only time I put speed is if I have to say something for like if I'm showing the beaver. So I normally have that animated beaver in the 0 to 100K. If the animated beaver's lines get a little bit longer than the video, then I have two choices. I can speed up the lines a little, or I can slow down the beaver talking in the video to make it, because they have to match one way or another. But that's pretty much the only time that I look at that. Usually with the beaver, what I basically do is, I will make the voice, and then I will I will play with it in the basically in the pitch machine. Actually, I take the pitch machine and I throw like this massive pitch on it, so it just makes it sound like basically it makes you sound like you've had helium or something, and you're really high and talking fast. So it works for the beaver. I was just like, okay, this works. I was happy with that. So that was kind of the way I came up with that beaver voice. But yeah. So once, of course, I go through all of the editing, going through it's actually a lot of work, because I will remove, and not fully. Like what I do is, for example, every so often I run into oh, you know what? Let's pull up the whiteboard. I like the whiteboard. All right, where is my whiteboard? Oh, here it is. Whoops. This here was, by the way, guys, if you're not a channel member, this was from the channel member stream. So I'm just going to come down past all the channel member stuff. All right. So basically you will get, let's come like this. All right, so these are like wave patterns. This is probably not the best, but you'll see you get these little spaces. And sometimes in these spaces, there's like a breath. So I don't like it. Like, for example, if I'm talking and I'm going, and that dividend is so fantastic. It's great. You see, notice how I went. So I put that big breath in there. So I want to get rid of that. So I got a couple of options. One, I can basically put a couple cuts right like this into my video, and the breath is all in there. But here's the problem. Let's say, for example, my mouth is like this here, but let's say it's like this here. Well, all of a sudden, if I go from this to this with no time in between, it creates a jerk on the screen, and I try to avoid those the best of my ability. So if I see that on these two sides, what I do is I just silence this. So I leave the space in, but I silence the breath so I can turn the sound off on that breath, or at least make it very, very low so you can't really hear it. And then go to the next one. Now, in some cases, I am lucky where I have this and this. So, I have the option of cutting that whole thing out. But a lot of times I don't want to cut the whole thing out. I might cut like a little bit out because I like that tiny little bit of space in there. It sort of gives people just a chance to, not feel like I'm rushing through material, especially when I look at the demographics for the channel. There's a lot. Like I'd say half of my audience is 40 plus. And not to say that if you're 40 or 50 that you can't keep up with fast stuff. You probably can. But I do have a good number of people who are like, slow it down a little bit. I just want it. And I just want the information. You don't have to rush it. I'll stay to the end. Don't worry. So I get a lot of people like that. So I look at it this way. My live streams, I talk fast enough in those, so I'm not worried about those per se. But yeah, that's kind of the way I go with the videos. And then, of course, I have to add all my overlays. So these think of these as rectangles, but these would be all that text. So when we get the words, I'm putting the words all in, and it can, it's a lot of work actually getting it all in. So I do all of that, and when I'm finally finished, I go back and I double check to try to, because there's been a couple times I never used to initially. The first time I started doing this, I wasn't double checking my words because I was like, no, I'm not making mistakes. But a couple of times I had viewers say, "Oh my God, you accidentally didn't change the ticker symbol from number 4 to number 3." I'm like, "Uh-oh, I can't do that. I can't do that." So I go back and double check these. It's kind of like that whole measure twice, cut once. So I double check these to try to occasionally, an error will still get through, but sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes where the error will get through is, and this is kind of fun, sometimes it'll get through the filming. I'll accidentally film an error. And then it's like, oh boy. There's been a couple of times I've been creative where I know where. So when we're looking at MER, so MER is management expense ratio, but I don't know why I always want to say management exchange ratio, but it's management expense. So there's been a couple times where I caught myself when I'm going through the editing where I say management exchange. So I'm like, oh man, so I go to the next one where I say management expense and I cut the expense and make a copy of it and see if I can somehow fit it back in here so I can have management expense ratio. Sometimes it works. Occasionally there's one where I just can't get it to fit without it looking like, like we just went through the Twilight Zone for a second because of the weirdness of it. So, but for the most part, things like that happen. And I look at it this way. It's like, you know what? If I misspeak, it's a normal thing. I probably do it in my live streams all the time without realizing it. So why not? All right. We got Jungle in the house saying, I started investing in the stock market in January of 2014. I've had more ups than downs. That is a good thing. That's the goal of investing, guys. Right there. Jungle has just summed up the goal of investing. You're going to have a lot of losses, but your goal is to have more wins than losses, then you're a success. Almost everybody, like going into a bear market, almost everybody has losses. There's nothing you can do about it. But once you're back in the bull market, all of a sudden you start racking up those wins, and you're hoping that you rack up more wins than losses. And keep in mind, going into a bear market, if you don't sell, it's not technically a loss. It is still a win. So, because you're going to sell that, maybe you'll sell it in the bull market sometime, or take some profits. All of that fun stuff. Prairie says, "Good evening, gang. Happy Saturday, all." Reverend Ramirez is in the house with a good evening. And Paul says, Michael Saylor, if you think you're late to Bitcoin, just wait until the next MicroStrategy announcement. Another 2 billion added to the stack. Remember, you're never late to the hardest money ever created. Yeah. I mean, MicroStrategy has just been. And now, mind you, too, keep in mind, it'll be fun to watch MicroStrategy on Monday because, there may be some buying pressure there from the fact that, the NASDAQ had made that announcement that they're being included. So that's not a bad thing at all. I like that. All right. So where were we in the process? The editing. Well, then the next part comes. So the next part, once I've got the editing, I've got my thumbnail down, everything is all ready. It's all shiny. It's ready to go. My next big part is going to be, getting it out to the channel members. So as you guys know, the channel members get roughly 24 hours, maybe a little bit more. A lot of the times I actually get it out in the morning, the day before it's to release. So I get that out to the channel members, and I trust that if there's a serious issue with the video, the channel members will let me know. But I've looked at it so many times at that point, I'm pretty sure there isn't. But I'd like to get it out to the channel members. It's kind of one of the thank yous for being a channel member. And at that point, and this is where it sucks, I will tell you that this part sucks. Waiting for the next day at 2 p.m. and it's going to change to 3 p.m. in the new year because my release schedule is changing to 3 p.m.s instead of 2 p.m.s. But it's that wait because I'm sitting there, and especially when the channel members are reacting well to a video, I'm like, oh, I really want everyone to see this. So I'm sitting there, and there's that temptation. Come on, just release it. But no, it's got its own time. I got to release it at at 2 p.m. on Tuesday or Friday. So that's the hardest part. It's like, just holding back and just like, I look at it this way. I'm like, thank God I got the channel members there because, it makes it better to know that, they're getting that advanced view. And that's my reasoning for not going and releasing things early because it's fun. It's fun. Anchor Tours says, I don't know enough about Bitcoin to even know what the fuss is all about. Oh boy. Well, yeah. I've got a few videos on the channel that definitely give you a little bit of a tutorial on Bitcoin per se. I will be doing a Bitcoin ETF deep dive probably early January. And I will definitely give a lot more information about Bitcoin then as well. But I think the big takeaway from Bitcoin is that, one, it's a virtual currency. Two, that it has a limited number, and it has a maximum number of Bitcoin that you can ever have based on a mathematical algorithm. So the most Bitcoin you can ever have is 21 million. And the way Bitcoin are created is by solving an algorithm. And this algorithm, after each solves, awards a certain number of Bitcoin and gets harder. So it's always getting harder to create more Bitcoin. And in addition to that, we have this thing called the halvening. Every time we hit a halvening, that means the reward for solving the algorithm gets cut in half. So Bitcoin has this restrictive nature. So we're not going to mine the last Bitcoin for a long time. I think the date is sometime after I'm dead. So I'll just say it's out there. But it will get harder and harder and harder. And so that's the reason we start running into supply issues with Bitcoin. And all of that helps to push the price up. In a nutshell, it can be used as a store of value. It can be used as a hedge against inflation. There's lots of different uses for it. Whether it's fully realized, some of those statuses is absolutely up for debate. Some countries, El Salvador, uses it as a legal tender. So in a lot of places in El Salvador, well, pretty much all places, they have to be able to accept Bitcoin as a payment. Now, I did read something about El Salvador loosening up some of those rules in the future, but nonetheless, they have, they're holding a lot of Bitcoin, and that's kind of where it is now. Bitcoin is also to me, one of the biggest advantages of Bitcoin is that if you want to transfer money to another country, in the past, the only way you could really do it would be like a wire transfer or something like that. So you're paying a lot of fees to do it. Well, with Bitcoin, it's just like you just need Bitcoin in a wallet and they need a wallet. And you can transfer from your wallet to their wallet. No problems, no fees. Just boom, bang, it's done. So there's a lot of usages for it. And I think it's going to evolve even more. Like there are fast ways to certainly use it. There's the Lightning Network. There are ways that you can pay for it. Heck, if you're in Toronto, they actually have Bitcoin ATMs there, so you can get money that way as well. So it is very interesting. Let's see. Tim says if Bitcoin goes to zero, I take my shirt off. DM for the link. That's a thing. I think we're at a point that I don't think Bitcoin would ever go to zero. Before we had institutional interest, institutional investment, before we started getting any form of government interaction with it, sure, you could make an argument then. But we've now got a government in the United States getting ready to be sworn in who is pro Bitcoin. I know Trump has talked about putting Bitcoin on the U.S. Treasury. Once things like that start happening, the chances of it going to zero are close to zero. So I'll never say not zero, because obviously if society falls, Bitcoin goes to zero. I mean, if we lose technology, Bitcoin goes to zero. If we get hit with a solar flare and electricity's gone for 6 months, Bitcoin is pretty much zero for those 6 months because you have no access to it. But on the bright side, it is an interesting concept. It is an interesting technology, and I think it's here to stay. I think it's here to stay. 9 says we need a Bitcoin altcoin. I know, and that's funny because Bitcoin, guys, it's not an actual coin. Every so often, I go to say Bitcoin and I say Bitcoin for some reason. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun. All right, and then Paul says 9. It is Solana. All right, so once the video gets out, to everybody else, well, my next stage comes a couple of things. I try my best to be available during the first couple of hours when the video comes out. So any early commenters who get in there, I'm hitting them back fast. If you ever comment on one of my videos after that's just come out, you'll probably notice within minutes I'm back at you. It's really fast. The other thing I do as well is I'm looking at the performance, because sometimes, let's say for whatever reason, the thumbnail is not resonating with the audience or with YouTube in general. I can go in and change it. I can go in and change the title. I can change the description. I can't change the video, but I can change like the title, the thumbnail, and sometimes that can be enough to save it. I've had a couple times where a video was really underperforming right out of the gate. I changed the thumbnail and all of a sudden it was back. It was doing what it should have been doing. So it does. That sort of then becomes the whole thing. And then at that point, it just basically becomes stats. At that point, once I'm finished with any tinkering I'm going to do, it's stats. I'm already working on the next one. So all that fun thing. All right. Gus says, Candace, what are your thoughts on leverage C cover call ETFs like HYLD and HDIV? For example, I know they haven't seen a real bear market, so I wonder if the down market will affect its distribution. HYLD actually started. They released HYLD. Hamilton released that pretty much at the beginning of the last bear market. What happened with HYLD is it did fall quite a bit. Heck, let me pull this up. Let me actually pull this up. I will show you this. All right, here we go. HYLD. Here we go. And we're going to go out 5 years. So they released HYLD right here. So at the beginning of 2022. And this here, we were just entering a bear market. The interesting thing at this point here, we already had a bear market for tech, and well, look, it went down hard. And the reason it went down hard is that HYLD uses leverage. So because of that leverage, it will fall big time. Now the markets have recovered and it has come back, but you'll notice it has not got back to where it was. Part of this is that they released it high. It happens sometimes that they're a little bit overpowered initially. At the time they released it, there was a lot of money in the market still, because this is when people were still a little bit flush with pandemic supports. But it went down hard. They ended up cutting their dividend, and I'll show you. Let me show you that. Key data. Let's go right back to the beginning. Here we go. So their very first dividend, they released it at 13.8 cents, and then they increased it briefly up to 14, but then reality started to set in as it was falling like crazy. Now they did maintain that 14 for a bit, but you'll see then that went from 14 here in March 30th, and by April it went down to 12 cents. That was at basically the worst part of the bear market. And then at this point, we were already recovering from the bear market. They started increasing again. So 12.1, back up to 14. And whoops, I'm going in the wrong direction. All right, we were at 12.1. There we go. I didn't think they went straight to 14. No, 13.1, 13.8, and then 14.3. So they're doing really, really good. Now, you will notice, whoops, sorry, guys. Let's get back to the overview. And I'm still going to pull up that 10-year. Sorry, we'll go the 5-year chart. You will notice that they've come nowhere towards getting back here. And part of that is they're doing covered calls, right? So you do lose upside potential. And you're going to see the exact same thing on HDIV. So just by looking at it with this one, that there is itself is enough. So you will see this. So here's my strategy. This, because of the leverage, because they use leverage, and HDIV is the same. When we begin to move into the next bear market, I'm out of these funds. I'm out of these funds, the ones that use leverage at least. Now, the reason I'm out is that I want to, imagine if you could get out here and buy back in once, things are starting to move back up. And that's what I will do. So these to me are just something like anything with leverage. If it's going to go down, I don't want to take that ride because you're going faster than the actual market is at that point. So yeah, I would get out myself and I'll get back in when it's recovering. And it's the same thing with HDIV. When you look at a covered call that doesn't have leverage, it's not as bad. It's not as bad. You're still going to go down. And your recovery might also, it's going to be similar, but it's not going to be quite as bad. I'm trying to think of somebody who I can think of off the top of my head. Let's see here. You know what? Let's try this one. We're going to go to bank. All right, let's go to our 5-year. All right, this is an absolutely not good one to look at for that. It's not giving me very much. All right, I have to look into bank. I probably should do a deep dive on bank, but that's fine. Let me try. No, not that one. Harvest equal weight globals income. All right. So this one here, as you can see, nice 8-point, but this one does have covered calls in it as well. So let's go to our 5-year, and all right, There's the pandemic. And this one was doing fine, but you'll notice here that they did go down through the bear market, and then through the bull, they've been recovering. They're not back up to where they were before, but it's not as much of a thing. I see that 9 saying QQCC. One of the reasons I'll show you why I don't want to do QQCC. All right, let's pull them up here for a second, and I'm going to pull up the 5 years. Right here, everything before here, QQCC was not the QQCC of today. They made a change. Like basically, it's like a format change. Like if all of a sudden, if this was a country music station, they went from country to rock and roll. Yeah, they made a big change. So they're a completely different fund from this line forward. And they've been absolutely exploding because they didn't used to have tech, and I couldn't even tell you exactly what they held, but they completely changed and went to the NASDAQ at that point, and that is why QQCC is one I can't, as far as I'm concerned, even though, and this is the thing, and this is what I hate. A fund recycles their name, but yet you'll get something like this where a lot of brokers will have all the old data for the fund that is no longer that fund anymore. So that's kind of what happens there. Vineet says, hi, Candace. Happy Saturday, everyone. Let's see. Prairie says, I don't incur any fees handing someone a bill and is not affected by power internet outage. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, I will never say no to a bill. I never will. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. What is your thoughts on OLY? What, Olympia, right? So they've actually, yeah, here we go. Olympia Financial Group. And this is amazing. This is amazing. Like quite literally, they've gone from about 30 some odd dollars to 107. They have absolutely exploded. I think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to be fine. I'm all positive on them. Now this is also the group that that the Ontario Securities Commission thought I was trying to influence their price. They thought I was trying to influence their price. It was just a silly thing. I saw an opportunity with them somewhere's down in here, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna buy. I'm going all in. And I went all in. It was a dumb move. I went all in, and I caused a temporary price spike because I had bought so many shares. And then the price went up, and at that point I kind of realized, because I think what I was trying to do actually was I was actually planning to basically get their dividend. I wanted to get their dividend. So I was trying to get, I was doing like a dividend capture strategy. And when I bought all these shares, the price went up, and I was like, oh man, did I do that? I didn't think, now mind you, they were much smaller than they are now. And then I said, all right, I'm going to sell them. And that's what I did. And that's probably how I got flagged. I then sold them. I made nothing. I made absolutely nothing. I sold them. I got back. I mean, I got the higher price, but the lower price. So it averaged out to, I made zero. I made exactly nothing on this. Everything worked out exactly, but it got me flagged. And then the SEC called the SEC, sorry, the Ontario Securities Commission called my broker. My broker then put a freeze on my account. I called them up, and then I had to explain it to them. And they're like, yeah, we didn't think there was anything fishy going on because you didn't make anything from it. But, we wanted to just talk to you first before we released your account. That was back when I was day trading, guys. That was, anyway, that was fun. That was fun. All right, Gus says, thank you, Candace. Would you put EIT in the same category as HYLD and HDIV? No, I would not. Let me show you. Let me show you. There's one reason that a lot of people say, oh, there's better dividend yields out there than EIT. Yeah, absolutely. But let's go to the 5-year on EIT. If you look at the dividend, all right, so here is the pandemic. Then we had a bull market. And that bull market, a bull market ended roughly around this peak. They went down a little bit, but look at this. They mostly went sideways. Why? Why did they mostly go sideways? Because as we were moving up here, the management team at at EIT, they foresaw that the market was about to take a turn, and they began taking preparation. So, for example, their fixed income assets, that position would increase. They were also looking to go defensive with their funds, and that's what they did. They went defensive, and that's what got them a straight line. Not bad, not bad for that for a bear market. And then, of course, now we move into the bull market. So they're very good with managing market conditions. Definitely something I love about Canoe, and for that reason, I have no problems carrying Canoe into the next bear market. In fact, when I get rid of things like HYLD or HDIV because of that leverage, I probably will move it over to something like Canoe because of that very reason. So just something to keep in mind. Holy banana bread, guys, we've gone an hour. This one was not supposed to be an hour. These ones are supposed to be 15 to 20 minutes, but I wanted to break the regular format so we could do, well, kind of one like this just to get a little bit of that behind the scenes stuff. And hopefully it was interesting just to sort of get a bit behind the camera for sure. So guys, we will be back here. We're gonna have 2 live streams tomorrow. Of course, there's gonna be, we'll be back to the vertical format for tomorrow. For the other one for the financial Blogmas, and then of course we got this week, and I will point out we have a new celebrity beaver. Oh gosh. Do you guys want to see the new celebrity beaver? Do you guys want to be the first to see it? Let me know. I need to see a yes in chat, or I just won't show it. But if you guys want to see the new celebrity beaver, let me know. I will pull it up, but I gotta hear a yes. Gotta hear a yes, for sure. Gary says HPYT, good yield and easy. Yeah, easy to hedge off with TLT. So in the money puts. All right. Is it Justin Beaver? That's why I laughed. I wasn't laughing at Gary. No, it's not Justin Beaver. All right, guys. All right, before I go, I will show you the new one. I just have to find the new one. Where is the new one? Do I not have the new one in here? I should. I should have the new one in here. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Well, that's unfortunate. Oh, here it is. Yeah. Here it is. All right. Whoops. All right. Let me get rid of the. All right. I will make our new beaver a little bigger. Here we go. All right. Do you guys know who this is? Who this beaver is? But this is the new celebrity beaver. I'm pretty sure you can figure out who it is. And I'll tell you, it was hard to make him. It was hard to make him. Because you can't really do a bald-headed beaver. I tried. I did try. It looked absolutely ridiculous. I just wanna point that out. Look at all those yeses. I love it. This is what I love. You guys know how to be absolute yes people. And yeah, it's Kevin O'Leary. It's my Kevin O'Leary beaver. So anyway, yeah, that's our new celebrity beaver. Because there is a story that has Kevin O'Leary in it for the news tomorrow. So, oh, this is beautiful, Mr. Beaverful. I love it. I love it. This is great. This is a family show, Candace. Yes, I know. But what can I say? What can I say? All right, guys. I am gonna call it at this point because yeah. Oh, 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 no, not that type of ball. Yeah, no. Oh dear. All right. Yeah, now I understand. Oh, I understand. All right. Yeah, we will not talk about that again. That's hilarious. All right, guys. Anyway, This is your extra long version of Financial Blogmas. I will see you guys tomorrow. I can't wait. Until then, everyone, have a great night. Oh, actually, here, let me get rid of that. There we go. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye, everyone.